Okay, now we're going to take the tool completely apart. As you can see, we have chip windows to let the chips out. We also have an air blast on this unit. We have a 1032 drilled and tapped hole in the seam of this front housing. There's a manifold inside there, and air comes out of these two holes from that 1032 fitting. There's a groove here. It circulates around the face of this nose piece, goes in these holes, and it comes out these holes, which are on an angle that three air blasts converge pretty much right where the work is being done to blow the chips away. So that's another feature. This air blast comes to one of these ports here. These ports are, what's the word? Auxiliary ports. One of them is on when you pull the trigger, and you hook up the appropriate one to here, and that becomes an air blast. Every time you pull the trigger, you get an air blast at your point of work to blow your chips away. First thing we do is take off the nose piece. Then we remove the pull rod guard. Then we remove the pull rod with the 17 millimeter and the 1/2 inch. Back it up a turn, but don't take it out. We tap on the front, pull the pull rod out. Three-quarter wrench. Take out the tool. Disconnect. This cylinder here is a small cylinder that causes it to go back to home position. There's not enough spring force in the Kennecheck to do that, so this little clippered air cylinder pushes it back ready for the next hole. So we disconnect that hose. We disconnect the hose off the micro stop. We take a 3/16 Allen wrench, loosen this, clamp screw, and the front slides off. This is a sub-assembly, has a hardened steel slide. This is an aluminum housing with a bronze bushing inside, honed. We have a bearing, a guide bearing on the front for this 1-inch diameter. This is brake die material, 4140 heat treated. So that's a sub-assembly that comes off. Then we have a 3/32 Allen wrench to take off this rod guard. This keeps you from getting your fingers pinched when the piston rod moves. There's four 440 socket head cap screws that remove that. the piston rod, and when the pull rod goes through, it goes through the cylinder, through the piston rod and out the back. That's where that clamp is. We have the valve comes off with four 440 screws. There's some O-rings under there, so be careful. The cylinder comes off with four 1032 socket head cap screws. And then here, there's two 1032 socket head cap screws. That screw into thread inserts in the back of the tool. It's pretty simple, easy to work on. So now we'll put it back together. First we'll put this guard on. This sleeve here on the Check, the Hydra Check, is to limit the individuals on the floor from adjusting the feed rate. If you want the feed rate adjusted and you want it to stay there and you don't want people on the floor to adjust it, that's what this is for. When you put this back on, it has to rotate to a point where that'll slide back and forth. So make sure that this is down at the end when you rotate this around before you tighten this quarter 20 socket head cap screw with the 3/16 Allen. Now it'll slide back and forth later. We're going to reconnect this hose in the clipper, and this is the bleed air hose for the automatic return. Now we're going to put the tool in, make sure the spring and the spring end bushing is on. Now we insert the pull rod. Okay, we're having a little trouble getting it through this collet. Oh, it's tight. Okay. Okay, now it's through. That screw got tightened back down and it wouldn't go through those split that split collet clamp. Okay, now we want to make sure that this cylinder, the piston is all the way that way. We want to make sure that this slide is all the way out before we tighten the pull rod clamp. We slide that down until it touches the taper, and then we bring it back about a 32nd of an inch just to make sure that it's not riding up on the taper, because that'll cause it not to be able to, it won't go through the hole when you're operating. At this point, We've got the piston rod in, we've got the slide out, we've got this in the proper place. Now we're going to use the 17 millimeter and the 1/2 inch, and we're going to tighten the clamp. At this point, we are ready to put on the nose piece, left-hand thread. Now we're going to make sure that we have between 1/8 and 3/32 that the pilot is sticking out past the face of the nose piece. It looks like it's a little longer than that, so what we're going to do is loosen this 1/4 and we're going to slide it back. See that adjustment right there? So we're going to slide it back to about 3/32 to 1/8 of an inch, and then we're going to retighten at 1/4 socket head cap screw. We're going to put our pull rod guard back on. And we're going to tighten the 2 set screws on the flats of the piston rod. Now we can move this back, plug in our supply air, and we are ready to do a hole.